Love it when a tractor drives through just as I'm getting ready to record. Good afternoon, Deborah here. First of all, let's just go straight into it and then we'll discuss news about the channel afterwards. Are you prepared for shifting attitudes about immigration? We have discussed the rise of the far right, and it's happening globally. And there are more and more people in every country where they've easily accepted immigrants in the past, and they no longer want people. Period. Full stop. Last night, I received a comment from someone. It's not the first time I've received a comment like this, and I've chosen not to make a big deal out of it. And the person who made the comment, it's still there. I didn't delete it. So, the person said, France no longer wants immigrants, so why are you posting videos like this? And I very pleasantly answered back, I'm sorry, I don't believe that. Everywhere we have been, really everywhere, every government office, every interaction with people in the streets, every interaction with shopkeepers has been very pleasant. We haven't had negativity. And people can clearly, even in fractured French, or if I'm using my best accent, people can tell we're not from here. And they've been delightful. They've been absolutely lovely. All right? You're going to occasionally meet some grumpy old poo. That doesn't mean that people are rejecting you because you're not French. So, to the person who made that remark, and to the other people who have made that remark or something similar previously, no, I don't believe that the people of France want no new immigrants. Especially when, as I pointed out, this channel is aimed at people, usually over retirement age, who want to come here. They're not competing for jobs. They're not trying to take your resources. So, if those of us who are a certain age come here and we buy houses and we buy apartments and we shop in the local stores and we bank in the local banks and we spend our money here, that's not a bad thing, is it? I don't think so. France could have been xenophobic right after World War II, and they weren't. They still welcomed people to come and settle here. This is waves of immigration everywhere in the world. It's not a static thing. You don't get born in your one country and then stay there, usually. There are always some people who don't go beyond their village or their town. You travel, you go see other places, and sometimes you fall in love with a new country and you want to move there. And I think that's what's happened to a lot of us who have chosen France. We have fallen in love with this place. We like the lifestyle, the food, the people, the scenery, the lack of clutter, the lack of noise, the lack of traffic, for heaven's sakes, unless you live in some place like Paris. It's delightful and happy, and it just fills you with a joy that you haven't had in perhaps decades. So no, I'm sorry to the person who commented last night and the previous people who commented like that. I don't think that France is rejecting those of us who are moving here as immigrants. I don't think so. I don't like the term expats. Expats has an implication that we don't need to really go into. We're not here short term. We're here to move here. We're emigrating. So we are immigrants, not expats. Now, where there may arise some problems when you come over and you're having your, initial trip and trying to decide what area you would like to move to. There's a housing shortage, just like everywhere in Europe. There are housing shortages because not enough replacement houses have been built for the ones that had to be torn down or which were full of asbestos and had to be completely flattened, whatever. There's so many reasons. There's so many reasons. But if there's not enough housing and there's a constant need for essential government workers, doctors, nurses, lawyers, the people who keep school teachers, the people who keep things going all the time. If these people need housing and the place that they've been assigned to doesn't have the housing, what are they going to do? The stress factor, and we saw this in Australia well over a decade ago, is that people were being priced out of the housing market. The same thing happened in parts of England. People were priced out of the housing market, and they had to work there, and they couldn't afford to drive over an hour every day each direction just to go to work. And it's because of things like Airbnb and Booking.com. Now, let me grab my notes. These things will be in the show notes underneath, all the links. Lack of available housing creates a social crisis in Europe. This article was in The Guardian a few days ago. If there is no housing, there's no way to have enough people to run things. Just if you don't have enough school teachers for your children, or you don't have enough doctors and nurses, if there is no housing, what are they supposed to do? Where are you supposed to put them up? Where you may find some issues when you arrive here is if there's a backlash against renting short term. You have to have an address to be able to get the visa completed, the process of the visa. You have to have a physical, tangible address. So, just be aware that that is such an issue here now, and that the EU is trying to mandate an option where they refuse, if you're in an area that's populated or an area that's in high demand and needs essential workers, they're going to have to clamp down on the amount of Airbnbs allowed and the amount of Booking.com. This will affect just taking a vacation. Booking.com is who we usually use when we go on holiday. We haven't used Airbnb in well over a decade. But what I'm saying is, be aware. The world is changing so quickly. You have to think fast on your feet at all times. Have contingencies. So, do a Google search. Find out where to find short-term housing for 3 to 6 months. Put that in as your parameters. Housing in France for 3 to 6 months. Something like that. You know, change your terminology around a little bit according to what feels comfortable for you. And it will give you a list of places that are resources. Most of them are going to be real estate agencies. Or they're going to be some of those relocation services. Now, we saw someone advertising online the other day, and they charge to give you an apartment over $2,000 a month for starting at $2,200 a month. Okay, if that's your cup of tea, go for it. I think you will probably find a much more economical solution if you contact real estate agencies directly. I've noticed in the last few years that, for instance, an older house, it's empty. It can be cleaned up, it can be painted, it can be refreshed. It's not going to be remodeled, but it can be refreshed. Furniture, basic furniture can be put into it. And okay, you've inherited a house from Mama and Papa, and you can do short-term rentals. This might be a solution for some people here in France, French people, to have an income. All right? That's just off the top of my head. There are going to be solutions. You're more likely to find those sorts of rentals in Le Bon Coin, LeBoncoin. Le Bon Coin has everything, from houses for sale to houses for rent to car sales to furnishings to sporting goods. You name it. There's something for everybody in Le Bon Coin. You just have to define it by your region that you're looking in. But be aware. you may hit some pushback when you're looking for housing if you're coming over here. If you're looking and you're just staying in hotels, something like that, you'll be fine. But you have to have an address that you can give to the visa people. So that's a bit of a pickle. I have not encountered, I don't know anyone that we know here in France who has encountered people going, oh, we don't want you here. Oh, you're British. Oh, you're Australian. Oh, you're American. No, we don't want you here. We have not heard of that. Now, I will report back to you if I do hear that. I absolutely will, all right? But I think that that's not the case right now. I don't think people are saying, oh, we don't want any more people like that to come here. Especially when those of us who come here under the circumstances of being over 60 usually, and retired, and wanting to make a new peaceful life here. So I don't think that's a problem. Okay, enough of that. We'll move on. The next topic is something that's a little odd. Several of you have mentioned to me in private messages that you have a trip that maybe you're not interested in Brittany or Normandy. You might be interested in the Alsace. So you're over towards Belgium and Germany, and that's going to be your search parameter for where you'd like to look for a house. They had reinstituted some of the night trains, and people love doing that, where you can get on the train at night, have dinner, go to sleep, and wake up the next day in some place like Berlin. There was a very sad bit of news this week that the Paris to Berlin night train is going to be canceled effective the 14th of December. The French government has to be reciprocal between the countries where the rails go through, and the French government's not going to fund it on their side anymore. So it's going away, and there's a lot of people quite upset about that, especially when you read the article. And again, I'm going to give you a link underneath in the show notes. If people find that that's a very convenient way for them to go across the border and visit relatives and not have to pay for a hotel because they just get on the train and pay for a sleeping car, I don't like the fact that we're having to cut back. It's economic necessity everywhere. It's not just France. But you need to be aware of those things. That's why I've started discussing more and more of these. This is not Q&A this time. This is just an information packet. So, I would like to tell you how wonderful you are. You answer each other's questions so much more often now that we really are building a community. What I'd like to think about, I haven't got the time to do it right now. I'm doing so many things. I'm juggling and I'm getting ready to have to put in paperwork to renew our 10-year card so that we are permanent residents. I'd like to think about setting up a list, not an advertising list, an email list, so that if I put out an email newsletter that's like a compilation, maybe once a month, of all of these show notes that, okay, oh, wait a minute, in episode something, she talked about education. Okay, in episode something, she talked about medical care. All right, in episode, and then you can go back and you can refer. All right, here's the list here's the email send out. Here's the newsletter for this month. And you can go back and look and you can find, instead of having to scroll back through all the episodes. If you think that would be helpful, please let me know. Would you like an email newsletter? If you would, I'll try and find time in the next few weeks to set up a link that will be on the site for you to sign up for an email newsletter. And I can't do it every week. What I'll do is I'll do a monthly newsletter. Okay? So, trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to share. I don't think so. Nothing overly exciting this week, except 1,000+ subscribers. Thank you so much. You're wonderful. You really are wonderful. We've done this in less than a year. And I'm so happy because some people don't ever get it. Some people don't ever get it. So, all right. Do write in with questions. Love you bunches. You people are wonderful. All right. Here we go. Ready? Bye for now.